Welcome, welcome. This is G and Leo. This is your June 2023 video where you have some exciting news. And I think some of it you may have already heard. There we are. Are we back? Testing. Can you hear me? Are you ready? Leo, this is your June 2023 with G. So, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the energy that is like flavoring the entire month, but actually more than just the entire month of June. It's flavoring the next 14 months of your life. So, we're talking about Jupiter. Jupiter is making a move. Mid-May, Jupiter moves into the sign of Taurus energy. And so, Leo, you know where this is in your chart, right? Your 10th house. Career, but it's not just your career. 10th house can also be that vocation energy. So, a vocation, it's something you do whether you get paid to do it or not. Think about that carefully, Leo. Some of you might be working in a career where you're like, this is so unsatisfying. I don't, it pays the rent. It pays the mortgage. It puts food on the table, and there's nothing wrong with that. But some folks just have that, not everybody's okay with just doing that. For some, they feel like they need to be in touch with that thing that drives them. It's like a duty, a responsibility. It's something where they feel they are the authority, where they feel that if they just work at it long enough, right? If they work at it hard enough, if they just do a little bit by piecemeal, a little bit at a time, just a little bit at a time, climbing up that ladder, right? It's something you always will find yourself going back to. And again, you may have never made a dime off of it. Maybe something that you've done where you innately do it. So this is your Taurus energy. And if it's in your midheaven, like this is boss energy. This is big boss, right? This is like, I'm the manager. I can be more than the manager. I could be the business owner even. And I'm still trying to figure out, my lighting thing. I just don't know. Okay, that looks a little bit better. So I'm going to stay put. Responsibilities and duties. Okay, it's a place where it's all about structure, taking what I value and who I value, and establishing order and structure, but in a way where you're like, I have to do this. I have to do this. And it's got to be with things that are for the earth, that is of quality, that is peaceful and beautiful. Like, think of all the Taurus stuff. So it should be appealing with the eyes. It should be appealing because that's Taurus energy, beauty. Food, creature comforts. So food plays a big role in this. So obviously water, right? These are things that, some might say, well, that's not obvious because it's a comfort. Is it actually a need? Well, when we talk about the earth, yeah, it's a need. Absolutely. Without that water, we don't get our vegetation. We don't get our plants. We don't eat, right? And for those who eat, um, you know, whatever sort of flesh, right? Whatever, I know that sounded disgusting. Animals, right? Whether it's four-leggeds, two-leggeds, no-leggeds, fins, right? Whatever that is, all living things need water. We need the earth. So there's something really wonderful about having that placement, because Taurus is going to, well, first of all, it can be very stubborn, right? I know I had a conversation with a few different people about Taurus energy and the Scorpio energy being on that line of being stubborn, right? Very fixed energy, very fixed, right? That's usually what we hear the word fixed. So both those signs can do it. So if you've got your Taurus up there in your 10th, and it's about the earth, and it's about quality, and it's thinking very much about time, because that's your 10th house, time. So it's like, wait a minute, if I value this, I want this to be around for as long as possible. Time. It's the 10th house, which rules time, but it rules time more specifically a long period of time. So when anybody has anything, whatever planet or how or sign is up at your 10th house, it usually takes a long time, like later in your life, for that to kick in, to find that thing, to get that whether it's your career or the thing that is so important to you that you value, Taurus, to the degree where you can make money off of it, where you can get an income, because it's Taurus, Venus, how I can receive money in the bank, or as they say, cash money. Get me my cash money for that, right? So think of Taurus, think of the five senses, right? Beauty, hairdressers, song as in voice, as in singing, or even possibly speaking. I've seen and heard multiple people where when they're talking, you're just like, that's a Taurus. You can hear it. There is something beautiful about the way that they express, other than there's a difference. We hear powerful speakers who can persuade people, right? Who can persuade, like a salesperson almost, but even be more smooth than that. Like you're being sold something, but you don't know you're even being sold something, right? But Taurus is more about, think Venus. It's more about presenting it in a beautiful manner, in a soft, appealing manner. Appealing. Because it's the taste. It's like, if I taste this, it should taste good. If I smell this, it should smell good. If I look at this, if I see this, if I hear this, it should be pleasant. It should be pleasant. And that's Venus. It wants quality and it wants the good stuff. So organizing, structure, long term, Taurus in Capricorn energy, government, business, banking. But that's all the traditional stuff. What if you've got your Taurus energy and you're like, what, maybe I don't use mine that way, and you may not. It depends on where your Venus is in your natal chart. Your Venus will tell you more about that 10th house because your Taurus energy is up there. The sign that your Venus is in and the house that it's in. That's how you get the more details. And that's how you figure out, the more specifics as to how you can do that thing you do that you love to do, that you would do whether you got paid to do it or not. But holy crap, wouldn't it be great if you could make some money off of it? Absolutely. Absolutely. So having Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, shows up big in the month of June. It dipped into your Taurus energy mid-May, when Jupiter, the beginning of June, Jupiter in June, it meets up with the North Node. And this is all at the beginning of the month. North Node and Jupiter come together. And that is at 3 degrees. So if you have your chart, you can find out if that's a thing for you. Like, do you have something there? Do you have a house cusp line? What's there, right? If you don't know and you need to know, comment below. If you have your chart and you feel confident, but you just want confirmation, comment below. If you don't have your chart and you don't know anything, but yet you kind of want it and you're like, I should probably know this. This is my life after all. Comment below. I can get you started. I can get the chart to you. Okay. So Jupiter going through that 10th house, 14 months of your life. For 14 months. Yeah, that takes you deep into 2024. So this is an energy, Jupiter, that adds to things. You may all of a sudden have more opportunities to make money having Taurus energy at your 10th with Jupiter there. All of a sudden you have an abundance of duty and responsibilities, and you may have to juggle between work and home, because this is up here, it would be work, my ambitions, my goals, and this is home. This is home. This is my public life. This is my home life. This is personal. I'm at home. This is my emotions. This is my family, my mom, right? Things that are connected from my past, possibly my childhood. This is kind of like the future. One of the subscribers made that connection and said, isn't the North Node kind of like the midheaven? And in a way it is. In a way it is. Saturn is up here, okay? Saturn is all about putting, I don't want to say roadblocks, but it is, because Saturn says, I want you to achieve this, but I'm going to put you through a series of tests and roadblocks so that one day you can say you have mastered this. And I know that sounds a lot like the North Node, but the North Node isn't something we've mastered. The South Node is, right? So I'm not going to go any further with that because I know that can be confusing as hell. But I kind of wanted to further explain that for the subscriber that mentioned that. And it was a really great point. So in a way, they're similar, okay? But this North Node, because it is long term, it is I'm sorry, I'm talking about the North Node. I'm still differentiating. The North Node is a soul goal. Your midheaven is your personality's goal. It is like, but this is important. I'm supposed to do this. Like, I'm supposed to be on the world stage, meaning when people think of me, they're like, that person, that's what they were good at. That's what they did. They automatically associate it with you. We say world stage like, oh, that means I'm going to be on television and I'm going to be, well, we don't say that anymore, right? There's a lot of different ways for people to be public figures, right? And that would be that 10th house placement now, similar to that, but a boss in a way, a boss, an authority figure in a way. And that's why we also relate that 10th house to someone that's older because they know more. They've been around the block a few times. Okay. So I wanted to kind of lay the foundation for the energy that's going to be happening for the next 14 months, because in the very beginning on June 3rd, we have a full moon and it's in Sagittarius energy. So Sagittarius, guess what planet rules Sagittarius? I'm trying to see what works better. Like, what is better? Should I get closer? What the hell? I don't know. Well, if you don't know the answer, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So this tells us if Jupiter is coming up again, which it is, the very beginning of the month, Jupiter energy, Sagittarius, right? It's about beliefs. It's a full moon, so it's a release possibly in a belief. I know I keep looking at my lighting. It's driving me nuts. A release in a belief. And the belief could have to do with your freedoms, the freedoms of literally spirituality and religion, the justice system, the judicial system, how that works wherever you live. And when you think about exploring and seeking and searching truth, right? So, where is this for you, Leo? This is your 5th house. So, there is something you're releasing in your 5th house. Philosophy on life. Well, let's think about 5th house now. Let's kind of weave some of those Jupiter words, judgment and truth and wisdom. And Jupiter, here's the thing I want to add about Jupiter energy. Because it exaggerates and expands, which is also applicable to the 10th house, by the way, that I just talked about for you for 14 months. Jupiter expands. I don't think I said the word expand, but I said it could add to your responsibilities or it could add to your values, right? Because it's adding what I value. And I take those things very seriously. 10th house, very serious matters. Saturn rules 10th. It's very serious there, right? So Venus and Saturn work together pretty well because you got Taurus there, right? I know. You see how I did that? So think of these planets as people. Saturn as the authority figure. Venus, some say Saturn is the father, and Venus would be the daughter. And they actually get along because the daughter listens to the father. The father says, but this is what's important. We need to do this. And so Venus is actually rather disciplined here. That Taurus energy is super super cautious. Taurus is normally always cautious, right? It's an earth sign. It moves a little bit slow. It's not about gambling. But then being in the sign of Saturn, Saturn is very restrictive. It's like, but there's rules. We have to follow these rules. That's Saturn in the 10th. So the Venus, because dad said, hey, we have to follow these rules, Venus is going to be like, we have to follow these rules. Okay. So when you kind of see that and you understand it, that means you would do very good as somebody who, well, we need somebody who is going to be the rule keeper. It makes me think of a person. Have you ever been involved in, okay, it's been a while, so forgive me. And I don't even have words for it, but it's like when you belong to, whether it's a church or a business, right? And you have like a meeting, right? And so there's somebody there, maybe a secretary keeping the minutes, right? Well, if there's a vote that has to happen of any kind, there's usually somebody who has the rules of how that functions. Like there's an order to it. Like, you can make a motion, but there's a certain way that you have to make a motion. I forget the name of the person who is there to make sure that the motion is presented in the proper way. Otherwise, it's not a motion and it won't be heard. This is a perfect placement for that because this is somebody who's like, the rules are quite valuable, right? Now, obviously, there can be some other things in your chart that may angle or square, and where it's like, oh no, that doesn't work for me at all. I don't like rules at all. You could have things that make it very different from what I'm saying, which is why having your own chart really matters because we got to look at the whole thing. But because Saturn is all about discipline and rules and structure and order, and it taking a long period of time, and saying there's no cheating, there's no yeah, it just says you got to do it by the book and there's no shortcuts. So the Jupiter energy may add to that. And I went back to this because the full moon happening in your 5th house, this is fun, children, romance, joy, creativity. It's your happy place. It's how I take a risk with my body. This is the placement of where you're risky. This is the placement of let's have a good time. This is, dating, mating, and relating, right? The whole 5th house. Maybe I did that backwards. Maybe I should have said relating, mating, and dating. Relating, dating, and mating. How about that? And then the possibility of, whoops, holy shit, there's a baby. How did that happen? Right? How did that happen? So having Sag there is almost as though having children would be an adventure because Sag loves an adventure. Sag is also very confident energy. It's spirituality and religion and traveling long distances. Like, let's go traveling. So a road trip across, yeah, let's drive across to the other side of the country, right? Coast to coast, or let's get on a plane. It wants to journey and search. It's seeking wisdom. And it does that by literally being free and seeking. Okay. So if it's a full moon, it usually speaks to a release in any one of those things I've just mentioned. You got it? So it could be a release of judgments. It could be a release of exaggerations. It could be a release on a happy thing or a happy place or some activity you were doing, possibly as a creative activity, possibly an activity with children, right? So it could be anything. The degrees are 1317, and that's on the 3rd of June. Okay, so 2-degree orb, that's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 degrees. And then we go to the new moon towards the latter part of the month, like the 3rd week. We're talking the 17th and the 18th of June. 17th and 18th, we have a new moon in Gemini. Gemini energy, new moon. This is all about thinking and thoughts. This is networking. This is peers. This is coworkers. This is friends. This is neighbors and siblings. This is my neighborhood, my local community. This is teaching and sales and learning. It's a new moon. And so for you, this new beginning, this new moon is happening in your 11th house. So this is very much about digital, digital news, social media, social platforms. It's how you're sharing and exchanging. It's where you're finding your friends because your 11th house is friends. And so you're finding your friends online. And it doesn't mean you don't have like real people friends like skin. It just means there may be, you know, a wonderful avenue of learning that you have found through online. And it's groups because that's online. When we talk about 11th house, it's also astrology, by the way, but it's group energy. So whether you're in a chat, whether you're, I'm not, this is the only place I am. So I can't even pretend I know. But think of all the social platforms. It's a new beginning. This is, remember Gemini keywords, how you consume news, how you share news or information, learning and teaching, but in a community, using it in a community. And so this new beginning could be a new beginning and learning something new. It's Gemini. It's a new way of thinking, a new way of relating. Okay. So for some of you, maybe it is a new platform. Maybe it's just simply a new way to network by using the digital media, but it can be meeting in groups face to face. Okay. It can be that as well. And it's powerful because Mercury rules this new moon, and that is the mind. So this is, you know, it's when we make intentions, when we set our intentions, we're using our mind. So the first 3 new moons of the lunar year are the most powerful. And Gemini energy, this is just, I mean, I know this and it didn't come up in the other videos, but for whatever reason right now, it's coming in really strongly. Gemini energy is about humanity on a very high level. It kind of takes on, because it's like brotherhood, Gemini energy on a high level. It becomes about brotherhood, womanhood, or humanhood, we should say. And it's about relating and acceptance and being mutable and being flexible and about, sharing and exchanging of ideas, but doing it in a way where we can move forward together. And, it likes diversity. It likes spicy. It likes different. But it's a thinker too. It's smart energy. It's a thinker. And having this new moon energy means you can bring about what you want. You can set intentions. So that is June 17th and June 18th, depending upon where you live because of the time. So it's 11:37 p.m. my time zone, central time zone. And so typically you want to set intentions or pray or have a ceremony or whatever you do. Maybe you don't do any of that. Maybe you just jot things down, right? It's just basically saying, this is what I want to bring forward into my life. It's going to have to do with the way you talk and communicate, the way you think, first off, the way you're sharing and consuming information, the way you're learning it. And so having a new moon here and Mercury being the ruler of it and Mercury being our mind, this is a grand opportunity for all of us. But with it in your 11th house, it makes it powerful because it means you may receive information like in a flash, in downloads, because it's that 11th house energy. It's electric. It comes through like lightning. So usually having Mercury energy in the 11th, Gemini in the 11th, these people are very intelligent people. These are normally like our scientists, our engineers, our NASA people. These are our physicists, like really smart energy. Obviously, there could be other things in your chart where you're like, gee, that doesn't sound like me at all. I had a hard time, right? You could have some things that angle it in a hard way where make that a little bit more difficult. So again, if you got your chart and you want me to clarify things, comment to me below and I'll help you out. And I will do the best that I can for you. All right. So that ends your June. I said your July. That ends your June. And yeah, is the lighting better now? What the hell? I should have sat like this the whole video. One day I will have this lighting dilemma figured out. I don't know when that's going to be, but one day. Thank you for your time, Leo. Bye-bye. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.